So for this week, for my video, I'm going to talk about the idea of projections, the ego, and your shadow. And your shadow and yourself is, as Campbell explained, was like your rejected or frightening aspects of your life that you project onto other people. So, for instance, you'd be like, "I hate you, but I really don't know why." It's because inside your shadow and your unconscious or your subconscious, there's something that you've repressed that is making you not like something about the other person. So, for example, what we were told in class was like as a young child, if someone was always teased or made fun of something about something that was really kind of like like a sensitive part to their life, then that child will grow up and learn to like keep secrets, and it'll be really hard for them to open up to other people. So I found it interesting how, or kind of scary, I guess, how other people and experiences that you have can ultimately project how can ultimately affect your shadows and your projections in the future. And also what we talked about in class was how the things that really drive people crazy are like could be a result from your shadow. And are the things that drive you crazy is because they actually drive you crazy, or is it because it's the fear of it's a way that you could never be? So for example, a simple example would be like someone that always goes out and tries new sports and tries new things, and that could drive me crazy, for example, because not because they're being athletic and they're going and playing soccer and trying something new, but it's because I'm afraid to do that myself, and I'm afraid to fail in a new sport where that person is just like, hey, I'm going to go try it and have fun. So I found that really interesting, is how what really is driving you crazy is probably not that person and what they're really doing, but it's actually coming from inside you and inside yourself. And also, so I found it neat how we talked about if things that drive you crazy of other people that you can't change, that you can't change their habits or their ways, you should actually try to love them to death. Love that thing that drives you crazy, and it will actually make it. It could. Sorry, lost my train of thought. So if you just can't change it, you should love it, and it'll make the relationship even better, and you can understand the person even better. Also, what I found, what also we talked about in class that I found related to teenage life is about parents and how like you want to go do something, but they seem to say no, or they seem to hate the way that you do certain things. And we talked about how it might not be because of what you're actually doing, but it's because of their fear that is driving them to say no, because they don't want you to end up like them or have an experience like they had. And I find it interesting how fear seems to be driving a lot of these concepts about what drives you crazy, or or these projections that you're projecting onto people are just because of fear for something in yourself or that you're afraid to do. And I also found it interesting how in life, like when you have an experience, or if you have like an experience that you don't really like, and you want to become the opposite. So maybe as a child you're like, oh, I don't want to be, when I have my children, I don't want to be a parent like my parent parents me, or something like that. It seems that you create this polarity that you work so hard not to have, be like your parents or do something, that in the end you're actually driving, you bring what you don't want to you, and you actually do that. And so I just found that interesting. Like we also went over the example of that you sometimes like marry someone just because of what your past is and not really what you want. And that ends up not being in the end really what you want in the end, because you don't want this really strict family run business, but you're so afraid to move out and try something new, that it just ends up not being what you want. And so lastly, what I want to talk about is how what you join up with is often a projection of your own psyche. So for example, because we're talking about relationships in this class, so for love is a person-to-person relationship, but it tends to be that if you don't have the love of what Campbell was expressing, or Fromm was expressing about, like respect, responsibility, care, and wish for the other person to succeed, really you're not in love with the other person, but you are in love with your own self and your idea. So you're trying to fit the other person that you so-called love into your own ego box and saying this is how it's supposed to be. And then that way, at that time, it makes you feel connected with the person because you're in love with yourself and you're saying, okay, we are one. But in reality, if you don't have the responsibility, care, um, respect, and knowledge, and wishing for the other person to succeed, then you're not really connected with them, but you're just connected with yourself. Um, so those are the few things that I found interesting, and hopefully I wasn't rambling and got you really confused. All right, and thanks. Bye.